2 hours. Funny thing about time, people think it moves in straight lines, ticking politely like a good little servant. But when something big is about to happen, time starts to twitch. You can feel it in the air, can't you? That strange pressure in your lungs, that little spark under your skin, like the world is whispering a secret straight into your ear, and you're trying so hard to keep your face calm, your voice steady, pretend nothing unusual is happening, even though you know something is coming, something that wants to kick the door open and change everything. The tension of waiting transforms ordinary moments into powerful ones. Funny how people underestimate that. They think power is in loud declarations, in dramatic entrances, in the crash and boom of big events. But real power, it lives in the silent spaces before anything happens, in the tiny ticking seconds where everyone else is too distracted, too bored, too blind to notice what's shifting beneath their feet. Waiting isn't empty. Oh no, it's packed to the brim with potential. It's like holding a lit match near a fuse, watching that dangerous little glow tremble, knowing one breath, one move, 1 second could change the whole world. Most people run from that feeling. They cover it with noise, with chatter, with distractions, because the quiet is too honest. It shows them what they're afraid to see, but not you. You feel the weight of a moment stretching itself, pulling tighter and tighter, like a rubber band begging to snap. And in that stretch, in that beautiful tension, something inside you wakes up. You start noticing things differently. The way people walk, unaware of the invisible countdown humming through the room. The way the air feels thicker, heavier, almost charged, as if electricity is crawling under the floor. Suddenly, the ordinary isn't ordinary anymore. A clock ticking becomes a drum. Footsteps echo like warnings. Even your own heartbeat feels louder, more purposeful, like it knows something you're still figuring out. That's the magic of waiting. It turns the mundane into a stage, the routine into a ritual. It sharpens your senses, sharpens your instincts, sharpens you. You're no longer drifting through time. Time is circling around you, watching you, measuring you, and every second you don't break, every second you stay steady, every second you stay aware, you grow stronger. People walking past, you might think you're calm, relaxed even. They don't realize you're sitting in the eye of a storm only you can feel. They don't see the calculations flickering behind your eyes, the quiet intensity pressing against your bones. They don't feel the anticipation humming in your chest like a distant engine ready to roar. Waiting is supposed to be boring, they say. But that's only true for those who don't understand its power. When you know something is coming, something good, something big, something that will tilt the world just a little, waiting becomes addictive. It becomes a game between you and fate, between you and time itself. And the best part, time doesn't know how to deal with someone who isn't afraid of it. You start to realize that the tension isn't your enemy, it's your teacher. It trains your patience, your composure, your ability to hold steady while everything hints at changing. It teaches you self-control, not the forced kind, but the kind born from excitement held tightly under your tongue. It teaches you observation, because in these quiet stretches, every detail matters. And most importantly, it teaches you presence, real presence. The kind where you're not clinging to the past or leaping into the future, but standing still in the exact second you're in, aware of how precious and fragile and powerful that second actually is. The truth is, moments before transformation are often more important than the transformation itself. These are the moments where your mind decides whether you're ready, where your spirit adjusts itself steady. Itself sharpens itself. It's like the world pauses, even if just for a breath, to ask you a silent question. Are you prepared for what comes next? And you answer not with words, but with your posture, your breath, your stillness, your quiet, burning anticipation. The tension shapes you, molds you, tests the cracks in your resolve. It whispers the truth that most people never hear. That power does to come from the event. It comes from the readiness for the event. So here you are, sitting in a moment that seems small to everyone else, but feels enormous to you, and you're right to feel that way. Time is leaning in your direction. The air is shifting, something is approaching, and the tension is merely its shadow arriving before the body. This is where ordinary moments become powerful, because you're no longer just passing through them. You're gripping them, feeling them pulse, listening to what they're trying to tell you. Every second stretches, and inside that stretch, you discover a version of yourself you don't meet in calm days. A version that watches closely, breathes deeply, and welcomes the quiet storm of anticipation like an old friend. Good news carries a different kind of energy, quiet but unstoppable. It doesn't stomp its feet or rattle the windows like the bad kind does. No, good news likes to slip into the room like a whisper you can't quite catch, but you feel it brushing the back of your neck. It's delicate on the surface, almost polite, yet underneath it has this wicked little spark, this pressure that builds and builds until suddenly everything feels different. That's the trick of it. Bad news crashes. Good news crawls. And it's the crawling that gets inside your head. You ever notice how people sense something before they understand it? They straighten their posture. They look around just a little too quickly. Their skin tingles, their stomach tightens, their breathing shifts. They know something is coming, but they don't know what. And the funny part is, good news doesn't panic anyone the way bad news does. Oh no, it just makes them uneasy in a softer, stranger way. Because good news demands a kind of vulnerability. People can handle disaster. They practice it daily in their minds. But good things, real, unexpected, life-tilting good things, those make people nervous. They don't know how to hold them. Good news is like a secret breeze passing through a closed room. It changes the temperature without asking permission. You can feel it before you can name it. You don't see it coming, you sense it coming. It's in the way your thoughts suddenly sharpen. The way your heartbeat picks up, like it's trying to beat ahead of its own rhythm. It's in the sudden silence inside your head, a quiet you didn't ask for, but now you can't shake. It's almost mischievous, the way good news toys with you before you even know what it is, like it's enjoying the suspense more than you are. And as it creeps closer, it doesn't thunder, it hums. A low, subtle vibration that feels like someone tapping gently on the inside of your skull. You start replaying memories, rethinking conversations, scanning the present for clues. Something is coming, you tell yourself. And the wild part, you start hoping without even meaning to. Hope is a dangerous little thing. It pretends it's soft. But once it gets its fingers around your insides, it squeezes. Good news uses that. It doesn't arrive with fanfare. It arrives with tension, disguised as excitement. People think good news shows up wrapped in fireworks, but the truth is, it prefers shadows. It lurks in the corners of your thoughts. It stands behind you while you're pretending to focus on something else. And when you finally notice it, it gives you that little jolt in the spine. Not fear, recognition, like you've been waiting for something you couldn't explain, and now suddenly, the explanation is staring right back at you. That's why the energy of good news is so strange. It's gentle, but it pulls you in like gravity. Think about how you hold yourself when you know something positive is on its way. You don't slouch. You don't drift. You become alert, alive, almost too aware. Your senses sharpen. Your mind tightens its grip on the moment. You lean forward mentally, physically, like you're trying to peek around the corner of time to see what's arriving. And that's the real power of good news. It wakes you up, not with a scream, but with a subtle tug, a little curl of anticipation hooking into your ribs. It reminds you that something better than the present is waiting to step inside. Good news doesn't demand attention. It earns it, not through volume, but through presence. It fills a space without making a sound. It nudges you, nudges the air, nudges the mood, until suddenly the whole atmosphere feels tilted, charged in a way that only you can feel. Everyone else might be moving normally, talking normally, breathing normally, but you feel the shift. You feel the flutter under your skin. You feel that low electric buzz that tells you something bright is pushing through the cracks. See, good news has a way of slipping under your defenses. It crawls in quietly, rearranging things without asking, lighting little fires in places you thought were cold. It doesn't force itself in. It waits, builds, grows, until its presence is undeniable. And once you sense it, really sense it, there's no going back to that calm, blank neutrality, because suddenly every second feels heavier with possibility, every breath sharper, every moment more alive. Good news may be quiet, but once it touches you, nothing around you stays the same. Secrets create focus, discipline, and inner strength, but not the kind people preach about in neat little motivational books. No, the real kind of discipline, the sharp, electric, intoxicating kind, comes from holding something inside you that nobody else knows. A secret is like a living creature tucked behind your ribs. It paces, whispers, scratches, reminding you it's there. And the more you protect it, the more it strengthens you from the inside out. Most people think secrets are heavy, but the truth is they make you lighter. They force your mind to tighten, your senses to sharpen, your emotions to march in a straight line. It's almost poetic how silence becomes a weapon, how restraint becomes power. You see, when you carry a secret, especially one glowing with promise, the whole world starts to look different. Every sound becomes clearer. Every heartbeat echoes louder. Every second stretches like a thin thread you can almost hear vibrating. People around you talk, laugh, complain, wander through their day without a clue that you are holding something that could tilt the ground under their feet. And that quiet difference, that invisible divide between what they know and what you know, creates a strange kind of discipline. The kind that does come from effort, but from awareness. A secret teaches you control, not the stiff, robotic kind, but that delicious, precise sort of control where every expression on your face becomes intentional. Every word you choose is deliberate. You don't blurt, you don't ramble, you don't crack. You hold your ground with the calm confidence of someone holding a spark in their hands and choosing not to drop it. People underestimate silence, but silence is focus. Silence is power. Silence is the inner voice saying, "Not yet, not now, wait." And waiting when you are armed with a secret feels less like patience and more like discipline forged in fire. And let's talk about that strength, that inner backbone a secret builds. It is funny how simply not speaking becomes an exercise in endurance. You want to smile wider than you should. You want to laugh when no one else gets the joke. You want to drop hints, tease, let a little of it slip just to see how people react. But you hold it tight, and in that holding your willpower grows teeth. It gnaws at your weakness. It trains you. You start to learn the art of keeping your excitement under control, your anticipation on a leash. That strength most people never develop because they spill everything the moment they feel it. And then there's the focus. A secret forces your mind to track every detail, every shift in the room, every question someone asks. You become hyper-aware, scanning for any sign that someone suspects what you're hiding. Not out of fear, no. Fear is for those who don't enjoy the game, but out of instinct. Instinct to protect, instinct to preserve, instinct to stay in control of the narrative. A secret sharpens your mind the way a blade meets a stone. You think clearer. You move smarter. You choose better. It's like you're constantly 2 steps ahead because while everyone else is living on the surface, you're operating layers deeper. People forget that secrets aren't just about hiding. Secrets are about holding energy, holding knowledge, holding the weight of something that's not ready to be released. That pressure creates an inner gravity. It pulls your scattered thoughts inward. It centers you, straightens you, keeps you alert. And discipline grows naturally from that center, like a shadow stretching behind something solid. You don't even have to force it. The secret does the work for you. And strength, real strength, comes from resisting the urge to share, from resisting the desire to let the world peek inside your excitement. Most people can't do that. They want the relief of release. They crave validation, attention, applause. But the one holding a secret doesn't need applause. They have something better, purpose, a direction that no one else can interfere with, a mission sealed inside their own chest. And that creates a resilience that doesn't bend easily. It's almost amusing how people look at you thinking you're just going about your day like them. Meanwhile, you're walking around with a quiet storm under your skin. Not a destructive storm, but a purposeful one. A storm that concentrates your energy, your thoughts, your strength into a single point. And in that point, you become unshakable, because a secret isn't just something you keep. It's something that shapes you, focuses you, disciplines you, and builds an inner strength that grows sharper every second you hold it close. The anticipation sharpens perception and heightens awareness. It's a curious thing, isn't it? People think they notice the world clearly, that their senses are tuned, that they see everything that matters. But real awareness doesn't come from comfort. Real awareness comes when you know something is about to happen, when a shift is creeping toward you like a predator in the dark, and you don't know exactly what it will do. That's when your senses stretch, tingle, scream for attention. Your eyes start catching details others miss, the slight twitch in a stranger's hand, the irregular rhythm of a passing car, the faint hum in the air that feels like it's humming just for you. And you notice it because anticipation has wired your brain to hunt, to wait, to feel every tremor before the world even knows it trembled. When you're waiting for something big, your body becomes a radar, finely tuned to every sound, every shadow, every shift in temperature. You hear footsteps differently, not just their rhythm, but the weight behind them. You feel the air differently, not just its movement, but its pressure against your skin. You even smell differently, catching nuances in familiar places as if reality itself is trying to whisper a secret, a warning, or a promise. Ordinary moments become amplified. A paper crumpling in the trash isn't just a paper crumpling, it's a signal. A door closing isn't just a door, it's a beat in the rhythm of anticipation. And with every beat, your awareness sharpens. Your perception grows more acute until you're operating in a different dimension of reality that most people can't even imagine exists. Anticipation isn't passive. It doesn't let you drift along like a leaf on the wind. No. Anticipation grips you by the spine and shakes you awake. It forces you to notice the small, insignificant details that hold hidden meaning. A glance across the room, a twitch of a lip, a sigh caught between words, all these become clues, puzzles, pieces of a story you're trying to assemble before the climax hits. The world becomes layered, complex, intricate, and you are the only one fully awake to see it. And that's intoxicating because most people live their lives half blind, their senses dulled by habit, by routine, by the comfort of ignorance. But you are on edge, alive, aware. You start to notice the rhythm of time itself. Seconds stretch and compress, not evenly, but in pulses that correspond to your internal clock, which is now tuned to the approaching event. 1 second feels like eternity, another like a blink. And in that strange rhythm, your mind is alive with possibilities. Every heartbeat becomes a drum, every inhale a countdown. And your attention isn't scattered, it's concentrated, honed, and relentless. You can feel the world unfolding, and in that feeling, you are more present than you've ever been before. It's exhilarating, terrifying, deliciously unsettling. Anticipation sharpens perception in ways that extend beyond the physical senses. It reaches into thought, intuition, judgment. You start seeing patterns where none existed before. Connections that were invisible now scream at you. Decisions you might have ignored in ordinary moments demand attention. Your instincts are heightened, alive, whispering warnings and opportunities at the same time. It's as if the universe is handing you a magnifying glass and a scalpel and saying, look closer, act carefully, and you do. Because anticipation has made you dangerous, not violent, but precise, unflinching, aware. And the more you wait, the more your awareness deepens. Ordinary distractions fade away. Conversations you overhear become data. Movements you notice become signals. Even your own body becomes a tool for sensing the world. Every twitch and tension a calibration. You start reading micro-expressions, subtle cues, tiny inconsistencies that most people would dismiss. And with each observation, your anticipation sharpens. Your mind hones itself like a blade, slicing through noise and triviality to catch the pulse of reality, the heartbeat of the approaching moment. Anticipation turns fear into clarity. Nervous energy becomes attention. Doubt becomes calculation. Your entire being channels itself into the single axis of perception. You become present in a way that's almost painful in its intensity. The world around you continues unaware, but you are awake in a way that borders on frightening because you are feeling the weight of what's about to happen, the tension of what's coming, the energy that will crash into existence, whether anyone is ready or not. And that energy anticipation is what transforms perception from ordinary to extraordinary, from casual observation to hyper-awareness, from seeing to truly knowing that the unknown fuels courage and readiness, but not the kind of courage people talk about in textbooks or fancy speeches. No, this courage is messy. It's raw. It creeps in like a shadow that refuses to leave. It's not loud or heroic at first. It starts as a twitch under your skin, a whisper in your mind, a pulse that tells you something is coming, and you have no idea what it is. That uncertainty, that deliciously dangerous unknown, is what sharpens the edges of your resolve. People think fear paralyzes you. Maybe sometimes it does, but when you embrace the unknown, fear transforms into a kind of fuel. It ignites a spark, and that spark becomes readiness. It becomes action. It becomes the jittery, exhilarating kind of courage that sits just beneath your ribs and waits for the right moment to roar. There's a thrill in not knowing. Most people run from it. They cling to routine, to predictability, to explanations that are neat and tidy. But the unknown is alive. It's breathing. It shifts and stretches around you, teasing, tempting, prodding you to react. It forces you to pay attention, to feel every twitch in your body, every tension in your surroundings. You start noticing things that don't make sense. Things that hint at what's coming. Your mind becomes a trap for details, a magnet for patterns that the unprepared would miss. And in this heightened state, courage doesn't ask permission. It simply rises because you can feel the world pressing at you, and your survival, your opportunity, your very presence depends on it. Readiness is born from this chaos. It's a strange, beautiful byproduct of stepping into the unknown willingly. You learn to move without hesitation, to act without overthinking, to trust the instincts that grow sharper the more uncertain the situation becomes. Every shadow, every flicker, every whisper becomes a signal, and you begin to respond with a precision that surprises even yourself. The unknown is demanding. It doesn't allow sloppy thinking, careless movements, or weak hearts. It forces you to stretch, to expand, to meet it on its terms. And in that stretch, courage grows, steady and relentless, like a muscle exercised by tension and challenge. You start to understand that the unknown doesn't care about your comfort, your plans, or your expectations. It has its own rules. It has its own timing. It has its own consequences. And the funny thing is, the closer you get to it, the more you realize how much it depends on you. Your reaction, your focus, your willingness to face it head on, that is what shapes the outcome. Fear used to be a chain. Now it's a tool. Doubt used to be a weight. Now it's a gauge. And in this new dynamic, courage doesn't feel like a choice. It feels like a requirement, the only way to survive the invisible pressure built around you. There's an intimacy with the unknown that most people never experience. You start talking to it in your own way. You study it. You feel it in the rhythm of your heartbeat. You sense its moods and the subtle changes around you. And the more you interact with it, the less terrifying it becomes, even while it remains unpredictable. You learn that you don't need to control it. You only need to prepare for it, to sharpen yourself like a blade, to hold your senses ready for the moment it strikes. And that preparation is intoxicating because it gives you a sense of power that is invisible to everyone else, a quiet mastery over something the world fears. Courage born of the unknown is different from bravery on a stage or valor in the daylight. It's private, it's internal, it's messy and jittery, and at the same time precise. It whispers in your bones that the unexpected is inevitable, and your job isn't to avoid it, but to meet it with awareness, speed, and a strange sense of grace. It teaches patience because timing matters, but it also teaches action because hesitation can be fatal. Every step forward, every breath drawn while facing uncertainty reinforces the spine of your courage. Every observation, every twitch of perception, every decision made under pressure builds readiness like a furnace forging steel inside your chest. And that's the magic of the unknown. It doesn't reward the timid. It doesn't comfort the cautious, but it gives life, sharpens instincts, fuels daring, and forces readiness in ways that certainty could never achieve. The thrill of uncertainty, the tension of mystery, the pulse of what you cannot see, yet know is coming. It drives you, molds you, and prepares you for the moment when courage is no longer an option, but a necessity. Change announces itself subtly before. It arrives loudly, and most people never notice the whisper before the roar. They live their lives expecting the dramatic, the obvious, the explosive. They want fireworks, confetti, grand proclamation. But the truth is, the real shifts, the ones that tear your world apart, or build it anew, arrive quietly first. Like a shadow stretching across the floor, a faint vibration in the air, a ripple beneath calm water. If you're paying attention, you can feel it before anyone else does. You can sense the tilt of reality, the small cracks forming in the walls of routine, the almost invisible signals that the world is about to twist. And that sensing, that noticing, is what separates those who survive from those who merely react. The subtle signs are everywhere if you know where to look. A conversation that seems meaningless on the surface carries undertones that hint at something larger. A glance, a hesitation, a change in tone, tiny things, almost imperceptible, yet they carry the weight of what's coming. Most people overlook them because their attention is scattered, their minds clouded by habit and distraction. But when you're tuned into the prelude of change, you notice everything. The air feels different. Time seems to stretch and compress unnaturally. A sense of expectancy hangs over the scene like a low fog, and you can almost smell the electricity before the storm breaks. That's the magic of subtle signals. They don't scream, they infiltrate. They creep under your skin, twist in your thoughts, and demand that you notice without knowing why. There's a beauty in noticing change before it shouts. It teaches patience, because you can't force the moment to arrive. It teaches observation, because every detail matters. It teaches strategy, because when you sense a shift early, you can prepare while others stumble blind into it. And the power of this awareness isn't in reaction, it's in anticipation. To catch the whisper before the roar is to step ahead of the world, to occupy a space where most people can't even see. That space is dangerous, exhilarating, intoxicating. It hums with tension. It vibrates with possibility. And in that hum, your mind sharpens, your instincts awaken, and your presence becomes a weapon. The arrival of change is inevitable, relentless. The subtle signs are just the first tremors, the gentle tapping at the door before it swings open violently. If you ignore the whispers, you will only feel the roar, unprepared, startled, scrambling to catch up. But if you listen, if you track the shifts, if you feel the rhythm beneath the surface, you can move with it, not against it. You become part of the motion instead of a victim of it. And the funny thing is, nobody notices you noticing. You move in the currents of change like a shadow gliding ahead of the storm, unseen, untouchable, armed with a knowledge others lack. The subtlety of change also teaches humility. You realize that the world is never static, that reality is constantly bending, twisting, mutating in ways too complex to comprehend fully, that small cracks, tiny adjustments, fleeting signals, hold the key to enormous transformation. And when you understand this, you start reading the world differently. You start expecting the invisible to become visible, the quiet to become loud, the minor to become monumental. You become patient with the small, attentive to the almost imperceptible, because you know that everything significant starts as a whisper, and there's a certain thrill in this awareness. To catch the early signs of change is to hold a secret knowledge that others do not have. You walk among people unaware of the shift, carrying a spark of foresight like a flame under your skin. It makes you cautious, yes, but also daring. It forces you to observe, to calculate, to prepare. It makes ordinary moments electric, because you know the calm is only temporary, the surface only deceptive. Every sound, every movement, every detail becomes loaded with meaning, pregnant with potential. Subtle announcements of change aren't just warnings, they are invitations. Invitations to adapt, to evolve, to act before the world forces your hand. They are nudges that the universe is about to rewrite the rules, and your choice is either to anticipate, to move deliberately, or to react blindly. The quiet before the storm is the most powerful place to stand. You can feel the energy building in the shadows, in the corners, in the cracks of routine. And in that energy, in that waiting, your senses sharpen, your mind accelerates, your focus tightens, and you become more alive than you have ever been. Change whispers before it roars, and those whispers are weapons for those who notice. They teach you to see, to feel, to wait, to prepare. They give you the edge. They shape you into someone who doesn't just survive the inevitable, they anticipate it, dance with it, and hold themselves ready for the moment when subtlety explodes into reality. The world moves fast, but the quiet signals move faster, and only those awake to them can claim the advantage. Control over information is control over momentum, and that's a dangerous kind of power, isn't it? Most people think power is in the loud declarations, in the commands, in the visible dominance, but real power, real intoxicating, twisted power hides in the quiet, in the things you don't say, in the knowledge you clutch to yourself like a dagger beneath your coat. Information is a living thing. It moves, it shifts, it changes the way people think, feel, and act. And if you can hold it, if you can guide it, if you can decide who knows and who doesn't, you control the flow of reality itself. Momentum becomes yours to shape. People stumble because they are at the mercy of what they don't know, but you are playing a game they can't even see. Think about it. Every moment someone else acts, it is because of what they think is true, and truth is malleable. Truth bends under pressure, under persuasion, under secrecy. If you control the facts, if you control the timing of revelation, you control their perception. And perception, my friend, is the engine of action. You can make someone move faster, slower, hesitate, leap, fall, rise, all with a subtle shift in the information you release. It's a dangerous dance because it requires patience, cunning, precision. One slip, one extra word, one careless glance, and momentum flips from your hands and tumbles into theirs. But when done right, it's intoxicating. You become the unseen conductor of events, a ghost in the machinery, guiding the world without anyone realizing it. There's a thrill in this kind of control, because while others are reacting, scrambling, guessing, you are orchestrating. You decide what is known, what is hidden, what is teased out like a slow, delicious revelation. You hold back, and the tension grows. The waiting becomes unbearable for those who don't know, and as tension grows, as uncertainty gnaws at them, you become stronger, sharper, untouchable in your silent authority. Momentum bends to your will because people move in response to what they think is happening, not what is actually happening. And the clever ones, the quiet manipulators, understand that distinction better than anyone. Information is more than knowledge. It is leverage. It is the pulse of action. When you control it, you control timing, you control expectation, you control fear, excitement, hesitation, and anticipation. A single withheld fact can change the outcome of an entire plan. A single revelation at the perfect moment can accelerate events, topple defenses, ignite chaos, or cultivate trust. Timing is everything. Too early, and the impact is lost. Too late, and the opportunity slips through your fingers. But perfectly timed, perfectly measured, and you wield influence the way a sculptor wields a chisel, carving the reactions of others into something you can predict, guide, manipulate. And the fun part? Nobody sees it. People think they are in charge of their actions. They think they are making free choices. But those choices are often the result of invisible nudges, carefully administered by the one who understands the rhythm of information. You control the hints, the whispers, the small slips, the delays, the pauses. You become a shadow in the mind of the world. Every glance, Every word, every delay in communication is a tool. Every omission is a lever. And the momentum, the relentless, unstoppable current of action bends quietly to your design, because people act based on what they know, not on what is real. But control over information is not just about others. It's also about yourself. Guard it, hone it, measure it, and it will refine your own mind. You see cause and effect with clarity. You anticipate reactions, understand tendencies, and shape the battlefield of thought before anyone else knows they're fighting. It creates patience, discipline, cunning. It trains your instincts, teaches restraint, and sharpens perception. You become alert to nuances, subtle shifts, hidden signals. The world becomes a chessboard, and you are both player and architect of the pieces moving across it. And therein lies the intoxicating truth. Momentum is nothing without control, and control is nothing without secrecy. The more you withhold, the more the world moves according to your design. People don't realize that every step they take, every choice they make, every breath they expend is influenced by the flow of knowledge that you command. That invisible leverage, that silent mastery over what is revealed and what is hidden, becomes the engine of power, the currency of influence, the rhythm of victory. And once you taste it, once you feel the subtle pulse of events bend to your will, you start to understand that the real game is not in action, but in knowing when to act, who to inform, and how to keep the world guessing while you shape the outcome behind the curtain.